All right, welcome into the Daily Fix. Victory Monday as the Chiefs move to 4-0. And we talked about it last week. I feel like I was right. Now, there's a lot to get to, but I feel like I was right on how they were going to come out against the Chargers. And they sure came out like they were just, sloppy and, hey, man, we got this. We'll win this. We'll figure it out. And they did. So good for them. But welcome into the Daily Fix every single day, Monday through Friday, 12 noon, right here on Foolish Club Media. I am your host, Ron Hughley, right there in that little box. You see him in that little bitty box right there. That's Steve Serta, where he rightfully belongs in his spot. A couple of things first. If you are listening to us on Twitter, we appreciate you. Tell a friend or 19. If you're listening to us on YouTube as well, we appreciate you as well. One thing I need you to do, anybody listening, could you please head to our YouTube channel, Foolish Club Media. Head to our YouTube page there and like and subscribe, Foolish Club Media. If you do not, you are preventing my three children from eating. This is the fastest / slowest growing digital platform in the game today. So help us continue to grow, please, by liking and subscribing Foolish Club Media. Not going to hold you long. As always, listen, this is an organization the last couple of years people don't want to be a believer in, but I'm getting close. And I promise you this is not a hot take, and I will argue anybody to the death, and I mean it, like Mortal Kombat, to the death, that thinks this is a hot take. But first, let's start here. And Steve, give me my 2 minutes. You tell me if I'm wrong here. The Chiefs are still stalling on the injury to Rashee Rice. They're still not admitting yet that it is a torn ACL. I know he is getting an MRI today. I don't know. Have you heard anything? I haven't heard anything as of yet that has been concrete that he's going to miss the year that we all expect to hear. Have you heard anything yet?
No, but Andy Reid should be talking right about now.
Yep.
He usually has his Monday Zoom around 12 p.m. So he might be talking right now. So there might be an update coming here in the next few minutes, or they might wait until later in the afternoon once they confirm the MRI. But when there's reports out there that it's like they expect an ACL tear, it's generally because they know that. They just got to confirm it.
Yeah, you can usually, trainers and doctors can usually feel it in the knee on the sideline. So, we're expecting that he is going to miss the year. And if anything else happens that isn't worse, that he could come back, then that'll just be amazing. But the expectation is that he misses the year. And to me, obviously, that is devastating. I know you are going to need a minute because of how you were feeling about Rashee Rice and what he was doing. But, Steve, to me, the next page for Brett Veach and Andy Reid is they got to find their sucker. Who is going to do it? Who's going to be the sucker out there for the Chiefs? Because rest assured, I believe they got to add somebody. Now, it may be somebody big, maybe somebody that is a mid-level guy and a guy that's above a Juju Smith-Schuster, but they're going to have to add somebody. And, Steve, the suckers out there, to me, you got to look at teams that aren't going anywhere, teams that maybe have some disgruntled receivers or something like that. And for me, the Titans come to mind. Hopkins maybe on the high end. He's got a high number they would have to negotiate. I think it's at $18 million. Treylon Burks, the former first-round pick, big body guy. Could there be something there, the talented receiver out of Arkansas? The Giants, Jalen Hyatt, Darius Slayton in that range. Could they be guys that you can add? The one that makes – because people have said Devontae Adams, the Raiders aren't trading him to the Chiefs, or they'd be fools. They're not doing that. But the one to me that jumps out that makes the most sense, he's an expiring contract after this year, is Amari Cooper with the Browns. The Browns lost again to the Raiders. They're not going anywhere. And there was talks before with the Brandon Ayuk move that he would go. Amari Cooper makes a lot of sense. But somehow, some way, they got to find a sucker out there to help the Chiefs because they're going to me to have to make a move with Rashee out for the year and Hollywood Brown potentially maybe for the year, although there's reports that he could come back late December. So I think they got to make a move, big or small or medium. They have to make a move.
And I said on the post-game show yesterday, which I encourage you to go check out, me and Rocky Magana broke down the Chiefs win, even though it was kind of a devastating week for
Yeah,
the
you guys
Kansas City
cried. You
Chiefs.
guys cried during it. I was watching.
um, it would be very un-Chiefs like to go out there and kind of make a move, and especially the Chiefs don't have a ton of cap space right now, so it's got to be a cost-effective move at this point in the season. But it's like they put all these resources into the wide receiver room, and now it looks like it kind of looked last season, except you got Xavier Worthy, so I guess you feel a little bit better. But all of a sudden, the offense isn't playing well, and the wide receiver room has absolutely no depth, and you're down to Juju and Sky Moore and Justin Watson outside of Xavier Worthy. It does kind of feel like the only option is for them to go out there and be aggressive and try to replace him.
Well, they made a trade to get Kadarius Toney here a couple of years ago when they felt like they needed an upgrade or an addition to the wide receiver room, and they traded a third and a sixth to get him. So to me, something like that to me in that range, and get a receiver of help, but hopefully it works this time, right? And really for that year, for what he brought to the table, he caught a touchdown and made another huge play in that Super Bowl for them to win. So that's Amari Cooper is the name that makes the most sense. They can fit him in an expiring contract, and he's got to hate his life in Cleveland. All right, this is not a hot take. As I said, I will fight every last person to the death on this. Steve, Chris Jones, and I don't really think it's particularly close. Chris Jones is the Chiefs' best player right now. And I understand who is on this team. I understand there is what I believe is the best player in the world, although he's not playing like it. And to be honest with you, if you include this year and last year's regular season, I don't think he's played like it in the last really two regular seasons. The postseason, that's different. But I think Chris Jones, Steve, has clearly been this team's best player. I heard you say it on the post game last night, and I echo it. They don't win the game yesterday if Chris Jones isn't out there. It's not just the 2 sacks that he got. He was all over Justin Herbert's tail the whole time. He was creating things. He was moving up and down the line of scrimmage. They didn't have Mike Dana yesterday. He filled in and helped. His ability to rush the passer, to create missed throws, to create pressures, he was all over him and ruined multiple third downs. And Steve, he's done it all year. Now, we'll see what his sacks numbers are, and we'll see what he continues, right? He's only got 3 sacks right now this year, and I say only. But we'll see what happens. But like George Karlaftis has started off slow. The defensive line has been the strength of this team, but it has been him. He is playing at a defensive player of the year level and coming up with what Chris has a knack to do, big-time moments. At big plays. I believe the Chargers were going to try to go for that yesterday, even if they didn't get that first down. But he had a sack, grabbed the ball so Herbert couldn't do anything because he's strong enough to get the ball away and create it to force them to punt it, which they never, ever saw the ball again. So that dude, Steve, has been amazing. He is playing better than Patrick Mahomes. He has played better than Travis Kelce, obviously. Rashee Rice has been really good, but Chris Jones is the quarterback of that defense on the other side, and they're specifically all the time trying to stop him, and they can't.
Yeah, and without Rashee Rice, I mentioned this on the postgame show too. It's like the Chiefs are a full-blown defense-first team now.
I don't want to accept that.
I'm not counting on the offense much moving forward. Like, make some plays here and there, hopefully get a deep shot to Xavier Worthy, and hopefully Travis Kelce has a handful of catches and can make some plays. But Chris Jones is playing out of his mind. I don't know if we've ever seen him be this dominant this early in the season and for this long of a stretch, because if there's one thing you could criticize about Chris Jones throughout his time as a Kansas City Chief is that sometimes he kind of disappears and sometimes he fades away. And right now he's playing like the best defensive player on the planet. Like, he is the defensive player of the year through 4 games for the Kansas City Chiefs if it ended today.
Oh, he's still taking off a couple of plays here or there, Steve. I'll be honest with you. We know Chris. We know Chris going to take off a run play. But he is also stopping the run too. Like that was the number one thing. They did it again. J.K. Dobbins, like 39 something yards rushing. They stopped the number one weapon that they needed to stop, and he was a big part of it. Dude is balling out of his mind right now, and he's causing penalties, getting sacks. So big time performance from Chris Jones. And as you said, with the injuries and everything swirling around the Chiefs, they're going to need it. All right. Are you ready to believe in the Minnesota Vikings yet? Have you reached that point?
I dropped Justin Herbert after week 2 and picked up Sam Darnold in fantasy.
Are you ready? Because this happened with Kirk Cousins, and they were winning games, and people weren't believing in them, and they promptly went and lost to Daniel Jones and the New York Giants at home in a playoff game. So they were vindicated. With that year where they were winning and they went on the road and beat Buffalo and had that comeback against the Colts and they won the division. This team, just like the Chiefs, are 4-0. And after Seattle loses to Detroit tonight, there will be only 2 4-0 teams, the Chiefs and the Vikings. And the Vikings have looked much more impressive. They have beat the brakes off of everybody. The Niners game was close, but they by score, they controlled it the whole time, and they were up 2 scores more than not, and they still beat that team. They beat the brakes off the Texans and destroyed. Like, that game got close. They were destroying the Packers. Now, the Packers, like I said, made it closer and had an onside kick at the end. But, we're sitting here. It's 28-3. And I'm like, what in the Sam Darnold is happening right now? He's playing out of his mind. But one thing we know, those two can coach. Like I'm not sure if you put it up. Not sure you want to put that together yet. But when you start thinking about their offensive coach with O'Connell and their defensive coach with Brian Flores, like that right now is looking like a poor man's version of Andy and Spags. Right now, what they're doing on each side of the ball, Justin Jefferson obviously is a star. Aaron Jones have been a great pickup for them. And they get after the quarterback and have made some moves. This Vikings team, I'm not quite ready because I just can't trust a man who openly admitted to seeing ghosts. So I need a little bit more from Sam, but they're getting close. They look real.
He's been awesome, and I think Kevin O'Connell's been, for the last few years, one of the most underrated play callers in the NFL. Their offense is amazing. They just got Jordan Addison back yesterday, and he was awesome against the Packers. He hadn't played since week 1. Like, they're going to get TJ Hawkinson back at some point, and their defense is playing like one of the best defenses in all of football. Like, the Vikings and Kevin O'Connell has proven, like, yeah, if we get this thing right and put the right weapons around this guy, he, similar to like Kyle Shanahan and Matt LaFleur and Sean McVay, it's like, you get the right guy and the right pieces around it, he's such a good play caller that he will find success with it. And they're a really good top to bottom team. Like, I'm in on the Vikings. I think they're legitimately really good as long as Sam Darnold continues to play like this.
I've said, like, he looks like Geno Smith on steroids, the guy that was casted off and came back. I think he's better than Geno, and I think he's got better stuff that you just mentioned around him than Geno did. But they have a real feel of, like, when the Eagles came out of nowhere with Jalen Hurts, and you're like, oh, how good are they make? And next thing you know, they're just marching, and then they're the number 1 seed, and they're in the Super Bowl facing the Chiefs. They have a feel like that. Usually teams have to build and have some losses and stuff like that. They feel very much like the Eagles. All right. Hi, Mom. Ed Courtney, get your phone working again.